Welcome back to another episode of the Brown Sugar Cafe podcast, the place where poetry meets conversation. I'm your host, Terrence P. Elmore, and before we get into today's topic, make sure you hit that plus sign so you don't miss an episode. Also, please subscribe to my blog, thebrownssugarcafe.blog, and if you find any value in this episode or any other episodes, make sure you leave a heartfelt review. So with that being said, let's get to it. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Brown Sugar Cafe podcast. I hope that you all are doing well. I hope that you all are taking care of yourselves. We got these guests rolling, man. Without further ado, our next guest here, go ahead and introduce yourself.
My name is KJ Kearney. I'm a native of North Charleston, South Carolina. I'm a community organizer for Charleston Promise Neighborhood, and I'm also the 2024 winner of the James Beard Award for Best Social Media Account. I run an account called Black Food Fridays, where I share Black food news, information, history, comedy, culture. It's all about Black people in the food space across the African diaspora, and I am happy to be here.
Man, I appreciate you taking out the time of your busy schedule to be here, man. Brother, you have been doing some major things in the food space. Before we started recording this episode, it just came out that you were recognized as one of the 12 Black leaders in South Carolina. So congratulations for that. You're a community organizer. How did all that get started?
It got started because I was trying to impress a girl. If I could be real, like I ain't care about the community, not like how I care now.
Yeah.
Very long story short, I was working for the Medical University of South Carolina. I had the early morning shift, so I was working from 5 a.m. to 2 p.m. And one of my mentors in high school, he was the principal of an elementary school that wasn't too far from MUSC. And he was like, yo, we need something to do with these 4th and 5th graders. Can you coach basketball? And I'm like, no. At that time, I didn't care about nobody kids but my nieces and nephews. Like, I don't hate kids, but at the time I wasn't really, wasn't on that kind of thinking. And he was like, ask your mom, because my mom used to coach basketball for JV girls basketball for a while. And she was very successful. So I asked my mom, and she was like, absolutely, I would love to do this. My only caveat is I need you to help me because you're already downtown. You can just come to the school, get everything set up. I'll take everything over. I was like, great. And the only reason I accepted is because my ex-girlfriend at the time worked at that school. So I thought, yo, if she sees me out here interacting with the kids, she'll be like, oh, he has grown up. Which, let me just say clear for anybody, I want to let you all know, I am very aware that is not a good reason to work with children, right? And I understand that does not show that I'm actually maturing or growing up if my thought process is maybe this girl will like me again. But what I can say is 2 days in, I was hooked. I mean, I had never cared about anything outside of my immediate family or friend circle, right? Like, and so working with these kids at this Title I elementary school, they taught me about the realities of life, right? I was very in my own bubble. Like I went to kids, I would take them back home to practice and I'd go to their house and they had cement floors in their house. And it wasn't like no design choice. Like that's where they lived at.
Yeah.
They had cement stairs. So I was like, oh, of course he don't care about nothing. Right? Everything is breakable or is unbreakable in his house. Or you sharing shoes with your little sister, right? Right. Like I just learned that there is way more to life than what I knew. And what they taught me was that the quote unquote other side of town is full of people who look just like you. And in many cases did not have the opportunities that you had. In many cases will never have the opportunities that you have. And so we are only as strong as our weakest links. And not to call them weak, they're very strong in a lot of areas. But like for example, one of my kids, bro, we was like, yo, we're going to take you to Charleston Southern so you can see what real basketball looks like. Because everybody, when they're in 4th grade, they think they go into the league, right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, no, you're actually trash. And so let's go to a real basketball game and you can see what it looks like. And I told him we're going to Charleston Southern. And he said, "Do I need to pack a bag?" And I'm like, I'm laughing because I think he's joking, you know? I'm like, "No, we're just going to Latson." He's like, "Okay, do I need to pack a bag?" And I'm like, "Oh, you really don't know." Like, it was like interactions like that every day that drew me in to like to the work of being in proximity with my own people, despite or regardless of their socioeconomic impact. And so that was to answer, that's a very long answer, but that's how I got involved, was coaching basketball at an elementary school so some girl would like me again. And now I'm out here, you know, for real, like fighting City Hall
Yeah,
with black people in North Charleston when we need to, working with City Hall when we need to, and just you know, trying to provide resources for the community.
man, you made me just think about something. When I was growing up, I would meet people who never been to the beach. And that's
Mm,
something simple. Like, we grew up going to the beach all the time. And I'm not talking about Myrtle Beach. I'm talking about Folly Beach. I'm talking about James
right,
Island,
in Charleston.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And people had never been to the beach. And now I was just like, wow, or people had never been to different parts that are in the Tri County area. Man, when I was growing up, I was everywhere, all over South
Hmm.
Carolina. But just to see that people aren't exposed to certain things, especially kids, and I appreciate the fact that you were able to expose him to that. And it's just small things like that that can have a big impact. Like, if you
Hmm.
see something, growing up that you never seen before, it piques your curiosity. It makes you want to know more. It makes you want to learn more. And I always talk about how I never had a black male teacher, and I often wonder, if I had one, would I have chosen a career to be a teacher? Because
Mm,
I never saw it until I got to college. Of course, going to
right.
HBCU, that's all your professors. They're either black or foreign. So,
R- Come on, somebody.
so how did you go from being a community organizer to the pandemic was happening? Um, there were a lot of things like George Floyd's murder. We had Breonna Taylor and so many other different people. Sad to say, too many people to name, but we were on lockdown and there was a lot of things happening in the community. What led to you starting Black Food Fridays?
What led to me starting Black Food Fridays was, you know, building off this momentum of becoming a coach that inspired me to quit my job at MUSC and become a substitute teacher because I just really wanted to be around the kids. You know what I mean? And then from there, I ended up getting a job. I ran for office in 2016, and I ended up getting a job uh, with the conservation voters of South Carolina after I ran for office. So I did that for a while, learned how the political game worked, so to speak. Um, and then in that political work, what I learned is that, and I mean this in the most respectful way possible, that a lot of our elected officials are stupid. And when I say stupid, I don't mean like they can't add. They're no smarter. This is a better way to phrase it. They're no smarter than you are.
Yeah.
Most of our elected officials are no smarter. They're more talented. They just had the balls to put their name on the list and say, pick me. And once I learned that, I'm not going to say I lost respect for the political process, but I learned that there are a lot more ways to maneuver. How about that?
Yeah.
And Terrence, I know you remember, like in South Carolina, when the whole Confederate flag on the state house was a big deal.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that got me thinking. And so I had an idea to make South Carolina Flag Day something that would be adopted by the state legislative body, excuse me. And so instead of talking about the Confederate flag, we just talk about South Carolina state flag, because our state flag is one of the most popular state flags in the United States of America. And as you know, as a South Carolina resident, we put that flag on everything:
Yeah.
dog bowls, belts,
Everything.
shirts, stickers. Like, we put that flag on everything.
Everything.
So I tried that, and a friend of mine told me, he's a white man, and he was like, "Nah, bro, I'm telling you, as a white man, I see what you're trying to do, and other white people gonna see that too, and they not gonna rock with this. So you got to find a new way." And so the new way was food.
Mm.
And so I wrote in 2018, I wrote the proclamation for Red Rice Day because, and this is why representation matters, right? I had seen a brother from South Carolina State who became an elected official write numerous proclamations for the town that he was in. And so I called him and I was like, yo, how do you do that? And he sent me one of his proclamations. It was like, just copy the format, take the words out, put what matters to you, and see if you can get somebody at your state house or city council or county council to make a resolution. I'm like, all right, cool. So I wrote Red Rice Day, and my homeboy John Mitchell at the time worked for the mayor of Charleston. And I gave it to John. I'm like, you think we can get this pushed through? And thank God for John, we did. And so in 2018, Red Rice Day was adopted by the city of Charleston. And that let me know, like, because in
Yeah.
that proclamation, I said some not wild stuff. I was factual about like what Charleston had done to our ancestors and why they chose our ancestors and how our ancestors' hard work made this city the richest city in the 13 colonies time, and still one of the most wealthy,
Yeah.
on the low, one of the most wealthiest cities in America. And so I put all of that in there. And then I put some stuff about red rice, and everybody was like, great, right? No argument. It got approved
Right.
first run. No, and I was like, oh, snap. You can sneak in political commentary or movement through food because the food is almost like a distraction. So then when COVID came, 2020, I was in the middle of writing a book about how I believe Beyonce is the greatest community
Yeah.
organizer of all time. And 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 so in that I just got bored, and I needed a break. And so I was like, I've been doing some food stuff with Charleston Food and Wine. At that point, I'd done some stuff for them. I did this proclamation. I'm like, let me see if I can run a food account. So on April 5th, 2020, I went to Gmail and I got Black Food Fridays at gmail.com. Then I went to Twitter and Instagram and I got the handles Black Food Fridays. And my first post was about Slutty Vegan. And the post was just like, they are open on this day, these days at this time. They only accept Cash App, whatever it was, right?
Yeah.
And that was literally the start of Black Food Fridays. Just like, I'm tired about writing about Beyonce. Let me see if I can do something on this food thing. I didn't know what to do. I just knew that people needed this information. Or let me rephrase that. I thought that people needed this information, and I was proven correct. The
Yeah.
account went from 0 followers to 1,004 in a month. And then George Floyd happened, in June. Then we learned about Breonna Taylor, and then the movement for Black Lives, and like white people started caring about Black people's stuff. And so
Yeah.
my thing went from like 1,000 to 10,000. And you know what I mean? And it just kept climbing. And there are reasons why I think mine kept climbing while other people's started declining. But like that was really it, bro. Like I saw food maneuver the political system. And I thought maybe I can do that online with Instagram.
Yeah.
And so far, so good, I would say.
Yeah, man. Because when I started hearing you talk about food as a political act, I that was my first time ever thinking about that. Like you ingrained that into our minds to like where we spend our dollars. And
Hmm.
food is very universal. Talk about this all the time. I mean, it especially like I have a barbecue podcast as well, and we talk about this how barbecue just brings people together.
Right.
But if you could be intentional about spending your money to black restaurants, black food trucks, black pop-ups or whatever, it does make a culture shift.
Hmm.
It does bring attention to these places who aren't necessarily getting the, let's be honest, the people to see them other than the people who are close in the community. So
Hmm.
what I really liked about your page is it was exposing us to places we didn't even know about, places we didn't even know about in our own cities, towns, places that were not that far of a drive away.
Hmm.
Um, it's some places I learned about because of your account, and we try to go there frequently. One of the places that I really loved, man, was Ma Glorious. Oh
Oh
my
my God. Don't
gosh.
even get me started, bro.
Man, dog,
Don't
we used to
even
go
get
there
me
like at least
started.
once a month.
Yo, I wrote about her in my newsletter. I don't know when this is coming out, but please subscribe to who made the potato salad.substack.com. But a couple weeks ago, I wrote about Mall Glory as it relates to sorrel, right? And how
Okay.
sorrel is a
Yeah.
Caribbean drink. Well, it's considered a holiday drink in the Caribbean, but I smash it every time I get my hands on sorrel. I'm drinking it. I don't care if it's Christmas or not. But yeah, man, I'm with you on that. I miss her. I saw her in the airport, Roxanne, Chef Roxanne. I
Okay.
saw her in the
Okay.
airport a couple weeks ago. So she's still alive and well. They planning for a comeback.
Yes.
So I can say that. I can't say when. I don't know when, but they are planning to come back.
Yeah, man. I sometimes I go through my pictures of food. I'm one of those people. And I
Right?
just look at some of this stuff and I'm like, man, I really miss this place, dog. I mean, shout out to you for putting us on. You also put us on to another place, been to. Oh,
Mm, mm.
matter of fact, we do another visit there too.
I mean, I went to Bentu last night, brother.
Of course. Of
I went
course.
last night and I went like last week Friday. Like I've probably spent thousands of dollars at that space by now. And for those of you who do not know, Bintu, Bintu, is a West African restaurant on Line Street, downtown Charleston, that was just recently named one of the 39 best restaurants in Charleston by Condé Nast Traveler and
Ooh.
one of the best new restaurants in America by Esquire magazine. And so I feel good because I've been on since day one. Like I
Yeah.
ain't need nobody to tell me this is fire. Like I knew it was hot. As soon as I went, I was like, yo, this is lit.
Yeah, man. That everything. And I like how she rotates the menu.
Mm-hmm.
So even if you go all the time, you're getting exposed to something different, something new.
Mm-hmm.
Got a chance to actually talk to her at one of your events, Bite the
Okay.
Power.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Got
yeah.
a chance to talk to her. We always talk to her husband because he seems to always be the person who's always serving us. So I didn't even know they were a couple
Oh word.
until
Okay.
Bite the Power because
Okay.
he always referred to her as chef, you know?
He
So he's
does,
so
yeah.
cool about it. That's just and I was like, "Oh wow, I had no idea."
mm-hmm.
But
Mm-hmm.
Bite the Power, that was a pretty dope event, man. How did you come up with the concept for that?
Man, T, you about to get all the secret sauce. So one thing about me is my brain does not stop. I'm always thinking of ideas. And if I may, I'm always thinking of good ideas. Um, Bite the Power came by way of seeing Black creatives and in the food space specifically, feeling like legacy publications, especially after the whole George Floyd thing down like 2022, feeling like there was no place for us to tell our stories,
Hmm,
right? For
yeah.
us to, we got to wait for Bon Appetit, we got to wait for Eater, we got to wait for, Savor, we got to wait for all, and I was hearing what people were saying. But again, as an organizer, my brain went to, okay, well, what is it that we can do as a people? I don't have food and wine money, right? I don't have Bon Appetit money, but what can I do? So I'm a heavy YouTube addict.
Yeah,
Like I
me
pay
too.
for YouTube Premium. I'm never going back to poor people YouTube ever again. I don't care if you think that sounds bougie. I will cut off Netflix. I will cut off everything. I'm not getting rid of. I'll cut off Spotify, and I love Spotify. I'm not getting rid of YouTube Premium. So I watch videos all the time. I'm always trying to learn something. And I remember watching this TED Talk video, and it just hit me like, why can't I just do that, but for Black food? And so, I had the idea. I had management at the time. I'd given them the idea. We didn't really do anything with it. And then 2024 comes. My management is like, let's try to move forward with this idea. And I'm like, all right, cool. Then I get nominated for the James Beard. And so it's like, all right, cool. My management has a little leverage to talk to some of these companies about being a part of this experimental idea. Then I win the James Beard. And I got to give a shout out to the team at Lowry's Seasoning Salt. They were the first brand, and to be frank, like really the only major brand to come on board afterwards. And so we just was like, all right, let's do 3 cities. Let me rephrase that. It was Lowry Season Salt and Ace Hotel. They both
Okay.
came to the table. Explore Charleston helped me out here in Charleston for the first Bite the Power event. Then we went to Ace Hotel Brooklyn and we did an event in Brooklyn. And then we attempted to do at Ace Hotel Toronto. I learned some stuff about trying to market Black events in Toronto. So that it failed. You know,
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
gonna just be it
Hey.
did not work. And what I learned was people in Toronto, while there are tons of black people, they don't think of themselves as black the way Americans think
I
of
can see
themselves
that.
as
Yeah,
black, right?
yeah.
So even if they are black and they were born in Ajax or they were born in Scarborough, right? They're born in Toronto. They don't say I'm black Canadian. They say I'm Guyanese because my mama's Guyanese, or I'm Trinidadian because my grandma was Trinidadian, or I'm Jamaican because my family's from Jamaica, right? They don't claim black Canadian. I did not know that going into it. So when we go back to Toronto, we're gonna have to do it a little differently. But yeah, Fight the Power came from just a need to telling our own stories. And I'm grateful that Lowry's and Ace Hotel, once I won the award, saw the vision and we put it out there to the world. I love what we did. Now I'm gonna revamp it, but I love what we did. So we're gonna do another version during Charleston Wine and Food Festival as a dinner. So we're going to try a dinner version and see how that works. And then once we see, how the dinner version works versus the one you came to that was
Yeah.
just pretty like TED Talk ish only, then I'll reevaluate how I want to go forward.
Yeah, I just really enjoyed like everybody you had that spoke. I learned something about everybody that I didn't know. Even with Tia and how she started with the crabs, I was
Oh
just like,
yeah, right.
I would not have known all of that if it wasn't for this event.
That's real.
So I
That's
really,
real.
I mean, it was dope. I really appreciated. I'm glad I had the opportunity to go because I knew those tickets were going to sell out fast, and I jumped on it because
And
I'm
I
subscribed.
appreciate you for doing
Yeah,
so,
I'm
brother.
subscribed to Who Made the Potato Salad, so I know what time it drops, and I was looking for that email to come out. And
Yeah.
matter of fact, before I went ahead and ordered it, Nikki she beat me to it. I was like, okay, well, as long as we got our tickets, I'm good.
Listen,
I'm good.
shout out to Nikki.
Speaking of Who Made a Potato Salad and
Hmm.
Substack, I have been thinking about writing on Substack. I know, weren't you on Medium before, like a
I
long
was on
time
Medium
ago?
before.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
So how do you feel about your journey with Substack, and what was the idea of basically putting Who Made the Potato Salad on there?
Mm, man, that's a good question. So I love to write. Um, I used to have a column in the Charleston City paper.
Hmm.
I used to have my own blogs where I was writing about streetwear and sneaker culture. And, that took me pretty far as well in the creative space. So writing it's just a thing I love doing, bro. I can write 1,000 words on cargo shorts right now. Like I'm that guy. But what I've learned through growing a social media platform is that uh, if you don't mind me quoting Chris Brown real quick, these hoes ain't loyal, right? These
Yeah.
social media platforms don't care about you, dog. Like they'll
Nah.
change their algorithm. Because for them it's about making money, right? And I
Yeah.
get that. I'm not saying that in a woe is me kind of way. Instagram is here to provide benefit for their shareholders and their advertisers. What that means is I don't own any of my data. I don't own any of those relationships that I've built online. So I started the Substack because I wanted to write again, and I wanted a way to directly contact the people who say they ride with me, right? Because I got 182 followers on Instagram. There are times when I know for a fact less than 1,000 people see a post,
Oh yeah.
right? Like, how is that possible? I don't know, but I mean, I do know. But anyway, I knew I needed to own my own slice of the internet, but I just I went hot and heavy with no plan, and so I got burnt out. So I stopped writing because I was really trying to push the social media because I was like, you know what? Let me get some more followers. I just need to get more followers. But now that I'm back on Substack, I've been at this point. I think I've posted three. I think I've posted 3 consecutive weeks on the newsletter because I have a format that I can do every week
Yeah.
that allows me to be creative, but then also allows me to provide value. And so in these 2 weeks, I've gained 500 new subscribers. And I believe that this format is going to take me where I want to go because it allows me again to get my creativity off. I have 3 segments for those of you who haven't seen the Substack yet. I do 3 segments now. The first segment is a word from your boy, which allows me to get off whatever take I want. Right. Then the next section is Black Food News. And so I scour the internet finding Black food news and information. And then the third section is just one more bite, where I throw in another nugget that maybe didn't fit in my first two sections. And people seem to really like that because now they know what to expect,
Yeah.
right? They can set their watch and say, okay, every Friday, I'm going to get something in my inbox. It's going to have these three sections. So if you don't even care about the news, you could just read whatever I want to write. If you don't care about what I write and you just want to get to the news, you can go down to the news. So I think it's a format that works not for everybody, but it does work for a lot of people. And now on this journey, I am more confident that I can obtain some of the goals that I've set for myself as a Substack writer.
Okay. You talked about this before. That book, I remember you writing that book about Beyonce.
Mm-hmm.
Your progress from then until now. Do you have a book in mind?
That's a good question. I have a literary agent. My literary agent is a Black woman named Erica. She's in Savannah. And I wrote a book proposal and we submitted the book proposal and she took meetings with publishers and she kept getting the same answer. We want to work with him, but we don't know about this idea that he has for this book. And to
Mm,
be frank, I don't think what I sent them was the best reflection of who I am.
okay.
And the reason I say that is because the first, I would say up until October of this year. So I started in April 2020. It wasn't until October of 2024 that I fully understood what I wanted to do with this account and with this platform that I've created. Before then, I was just trying to do what would ever get me bread, bruh. Like, oh, so I should write a book? All right, cool. I can write.
Yeah.
I'll write a
Yeah.
book. Oh, I should start a podcast. All right, great. Me and Anella, my friend Anella from Feed the Malik. All right,
Yep.
let's do it. Uh, oh, you need to win a James Beard Award? Okay, I'll nominate myself. We'll see what happens. Oh, you need press? Okay, shoot, I'll reach out to. So I did everything that everybody told me I should do, and I was still unhappy with where the direction of Black Food Fridays, and I was unhappy. I was making money, but not consistently, and not in a way that would allow me to feel like I can do this forever,
Yeah.
But that's my fault. That's not the fault of anybody who tried to help me. That's my fault because I didn't know what I wanted to do. And it's hard for people to direct you, or rather to help you, when you don't have a direction. And so, and I don't know if you were going to plan on talking about this, but I took a break from social media this year. In October, like I think it was October and half of November, I just didn't post. And not only did I did not post, I took the apps off my phone, and I wanted to hear my own voice outside of the
Mm,
algorithm.
yeah.
And I wanted to talk to people who knew me in the real world and not just online, and like tell them what I was going through. Like winning the James Beard Award was probably one of the worst things that ever happened to me. It I had these expectations of what was supposed to happen because I've seen a lot of these mediocre people win James Beard Awards.
Yeah.
And I say mediocre meaning like their food or what they're doing is not outstanding. To me,
Yeah, I
it's
know what
not
you're
like
saying.
this
Yeah.
is the best thing I've ever seen in my
Yeah.
life. But you got a TV show off of this, and you got a book deal off of this, and you got a web series from, and like you got sponsorships and so I'm like, oh, okay, I'm fly. I'm dope. It's about to just start rolling in. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
and it did not happen. And it turned me very angry, very bitter. And it started spilling out into my real relationships, like in the real world.
Yeah.
And so I got into an argument with a friend who I never argue with. And that let me know you need a break, bro. you need to chill out, man. Like
Yeah.
you need to relax. So I did. And in that month and a half, I got so much clearer on what I wanted to do with this platform and how I wanted to be of assistance to my community. And so what you're seeing now, Terrence, with the new format of the newsletter and everything that's going to come after it is planned. For the first time ever, I'm planning stuff versus just like, oh, whatever my management team says, let's try it, or whatever my friend thinks I should do. All right, cool. Or whatever whim comes to me at the time. I'll do it. I'm not doing that no more. Like I have a plan of action and I feel good about it. And I think it's going to lead me to the type of success I want.
Man, first off, congratulations on the James Beard Award.
Thank you.
And also congratulations on recognizing that you needed to step away and get off the apps. Sometimes it can be overwhelming, and I think a lot of times we don't realize it because we're just so used to doing it. And it's when you take that break and you reset and you focus. Because to be honest, I couldn't tell that you didn't plan all the things that you posted and things you were doing. It flowed. So
Right.
just I could just imagine how things are going to look now that you have more structure and you're planning things. I do like the difference in the who made the potato salad. That's
Thank
pretty
you.
dope.
Thank you.
Um, I was I was supposed to do a newsletter a while ago, and I had an idea of what I was going to do, and then they took the newsletter thing away. It's like, yeah,
Mm.
we're doing away with this. I think it was on Twitter. Twitter had
Oh
that little
yeah.
yeah, and I was getting into that because I liked the layout, and then they just got rid of it, and I had some people subscribe to it, but I never revisited. So I'm glad we having this conversation because you're really making me think about revisiting that.
Yeah, so let me be clear. If you or anybody else is thinking about doing a newsletter, we crossed 7,000 subscribers last week, so I'm thankful for that.
Oh,
But my goal is like half a mil. Like I
oh
mean
yeah, of
that.
course,
Like I
yeah,
want a half a mil. And I believe I can get there. I mean, there's billions of black people across the world, bro. Like, I just need like 4% of them to sign up to the newsletter. I need 1% of all the black people in the world to sign up for my newsletter. And that's just black people. That don't include our allies, our white brothers and sisters, non-black brothers and sisters who might want to, go on
yeah,
this journey with me. But what I will say is, if you do decide to do this, Terrence, create a format that will allow you to be consistent. Because just like on Instagram, part of the reason why I grew and other people didn't is I posted every day,
yeah,
2 or 3 times a day. I'm posting. So, and you don't need to do that for a newsletter unless you plan on making a daily newsletter, which I wouldn't
no,
suggest you do unless you got a team of people. Like, don't
yeah,
do that.
yeah,
But if you say, look, the first Monday of every month, you getting 1,000 words from me, or once a week on Tuesdays, or like whatever you decide to do, be consistent. People will respect you for
yeah.
being in their inbox when you tell them I'm gonna be in your inbox.
Yeah, that's true. Cause I have a poetry blog that, man, I've been doing probably about 7 years, and
Okay.
every Wednesday I've been consistent, and then I started doing regular blog posts, and that's how I came about doing this podcast. I started doing
Mm,
regular blog posts, like I think it was like every other Monday,
hmm.
and then I turned whatever I wrote about into a podcast episode. But then after a while, I just kind of stopped and I just kind of started doing these episodes off the cuff, and just whatever I was thinking, I just would grab the microphone and start talking about it. And
Right.
then I started saying, man, let me get some guests. And people really responded to the guests. And of course, I like talking to people. So it was no brainer. So now
Right.
I have maybe a few solo episodes here and there sprinkled, but man, I'm all about getting guests on and getting people, exposed who may not, be exposed to my guests. And my
Hmm.
guests always have something positive to say, something influential to say. I mean, this whole episode so far, you've been dropping jewels. So I
Hmm.
mean, I think in that case of what I did and kind of how I wasn't consistent with my blog, it kind of worked out for me because I'm more consistent with this podcast episode. And I want to go back to writing like those blogs and those things where I express my thoughts.
Let me say this too, real quick, T. If you do decide to go back, it just ain't even got nothing to do with the newsletter or the podcast in specific. It's just about this is unsolicited advice on your creative output, right? I think the reason why the newsletter is working isn't just the format. It is, I know what I want to accomplish. And I don't know if you've had that conversation with yourself about what you're trying to accomplish, because depending on what you're trying to accomplish, you might not need a newsletter, bro. Like the podcast might be where you should focus your energy. Now, I would still say have a newsletter,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Like
yeah,
so you can collect email addresses and, have people be in direct contact with you. But like maybe the podcast is the medium that you need to use in order to accomplish whatever goal. And I don't know what your goals are, right? But like,
Yeah, I want to kind of like an open journal.
mm,
Not really. That's what I want to do. Is just a way to share my thoughts and
mm,
just, something I see, something on the news, something I read, and just express, or maybe a book that I picked up, just something just to express my thoughts and
right.
hopefully encourage some people somewhere in there. But yeah, like you said, man, the podcast has just been the thing. So maybe not. And then I also thought about maybe switching my poetry blog over there and then going from once a week to probably monthly.
Mm.
But I'll figure all that out later, man.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, and make sure that all of your stuff is feeding into each other. So my Instagram and my newsletter were disjointed. So it's like I was doing one thing on Instagram, and then my newsletter I was trying to do something completely different, which works if you have a team of people and you can pay people to do those things. But it's just me. So
Yeah.
for me, what I have is me. And so I had to be a lot more judicial with my time because I know where I want to go and I don't want to burn myself out. So now the Instagram, I'm not obsessed with how many people like my post as much as I am obsessed with making sure people know I got a newsletter and I want you to subscribe to the newsletter. So everything I post on there is to try to get you to go to my newsletter, right? And then once
Yeah.
I get my newsletter up, the next step is podcasting and then YouTubing, right? Like, but it will all feed each other. And so that's
Right.
my only last bit of unsolicited advice to
Yeah.
you is whatever you decide to go with, just make sure it feeds into your own ecosystem, so you can accomplish your goals faster.
Oh man, I appreciate that. You're right. Yeah. Man,
So,
thank you. Yeah.
yeah, do with that what you will, brother.
Yeah. Something else I wanted to talk about that I thought was pretty dope. You were a host on Citizen Better. It was what, 8
Mm,
episodes?
yeah.
Man, I enjoyed every single one of those episodes. Matter of fact, how did the opportunity come for you to host that?
So a guy who used to work at South Carolina ETV, his name is Xavier. He reached out to me, I want to say after my first nomination, James Beard nomination, and was essentially saying, we don't have any projects for you right now, but would you be open to doing something with us in the future? And, like I said earlier, I'm real quick to be like, yeah, let's try it. So I didn't hear from him for a while. And then a woman reached out a couple years, about a year or so later, and was like, are you still interested? And I'm like, yeah. So we crafted a pitch to send to PBS. The pitch that we crafted was accepted. But then when it came time to make the show, they changed it a little bit. So the show that you see, Citizen Better, is not the show that I pitched PBS.
Oh.
Which is again was a great learning experience, right? He who owns the gold makes the rules. And so it wasn't like I was paying for this show. I was just hired as talent. Even though it was partly my idea, like I didn't run nothing. And so those 8 episodes, what you see there is, I, I think, a great learning experience for me in terms of how the sausage gets made. Like, how do you make a web series? What do you need to make it look professional, so to
Yeah.
speak? Um, and now it's like, okay, well, I know what to do. I just need to get my own money so I can start doing my own series. And maybe it's a 3 episode series, maybe it's a 4 episode. I just want to try stuff because the PBS, it was a great experience, but that was not the show I pitched. And so I'm just really at the point now where I want to do the stuff that I want to do.
I could definitely see you doing your own show like that with your own
Hmm.
ideas. I really love that. I don't know if I'm being biased or not. I mean, I loved every episode, but I really like that one where you were talking to the guy who owned the sneaker store.
Oh yeah, in Columbia. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
I never thought about that being like a community thing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Like the whole trading shoes, swapping shoes, and it's a lot of things. I think it's a lot of things that we might have done younger that was kind of looked down upon as just like wasting time. But as we get older, we realize like we've actually developed like real community doing
Mm-hmm.
these things. I mean, look at comic books, how that's a thing now. And growing up, I mean, I got a cousin. Hopefully he skips past this part, but his mom threw away his comic books, his
Uh,
baseball cards, and everything because she was like, you're older now, you don't need these things. And he had first edition stuff too.
bruh.
And I'm just like, man, that was a lot of wealth. That's
You know,
just
I one thing I will also say, I don't know your cousin or his mama, but I know my parents. And what I realized getting older, working in community, is especially with black parents, I have a lot more grace for my parents now than I did as a child,
yeah,
right?
me too.
Because what I realize is y'all were 25, bro, when you had your like I was a I'm not gonna curse on your podcast, but I was not the man you see today when I was 25. And I didn't have to take care of nobody other than myself. You know what I mean? Like our
Right.
parents, it's hard enough to be black and then to be black and have to raise black children
Yeah.
in this world that is not created for us, that is systematically designed to oppress us. Like fear takes over
Yeah.
and they just want the best for us. And if you don't know that you can make money off insert thing, then you will never push your child there because again, it's hard enough to be black. Now you want to be black and play with comic books? Are you kidding me? That's not gonna get you no job, right? Like
Right.
that's probably what she was
Yeah.
thinking.
Yeah.
Like this ain't gonna get you no job. But had she known that there is a thing called the Marvel Cinematic Universe and that, Invincible can become a thing, right? Like in all these,
Yeah. Yeah.
had they known that, they might have been like, I remember, bro, I was working at North Charleston Creative Arts Elementary School as basically the muscle, right? Behavior interventionist, teacher assistant type of deal. And I remember having a parent teacher conference with one of the students. He was a third grader and he was not focused in school. But you know what he was focused on? Creating his YouTube channel and blowing it up, right? And his mom was like, Mr. Kearney, please tell this boy that YouTube, that ain't gonna cut it. You need your education. And I was like, actually, mom, he might end up making more money than all of us. And so I had to educate her on the opportunities that exist for her son. Now, that doesn't mean that he should not get his education,
Right.
right? And maybe if we showed more support in this thing that he loves, then he will do what he needs to do, right? Academically. Now, I don't know where he's at now. I don't know what that boy is doing. I hope all is well with him. But like our parents just don't know or they didn't know these things. So they couldn't push us. And we didn't have examples in our lives. He couldn't
No.
say, oh, look at this black man, mom, who is doing this comic book thing at that time, right? Like,
Yeah.
who was
Yeah.
he going to point to? So I get it on her side. And
Yeah.
I grieve for him. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Because when I like the last time I brought it up, it was accidental, and I was just talking about like the basketball cards and baseball cards I still have. And he just got quiet, and I was like, well, "What's going on?" And he was like, "She threw those out too," and I was like, "Oh."
Oh,
I thought it was just the
mm,
comic books. He was like, "No, man, it was everything."
mm,
I was like,
mm, mm.
"Ah,
Bro, for anyone who may be listening, I want y'all to know that there are people who make hundreds of thousands of dollars
yes."
online. All they do is open baseball
That's
cards
all they do.
on live. They go live, they buy rooms full of boxes and they just sit here on and people they open it and be like, boom, open it, boom. And people bid on certain boxes, they bid on certain cards. So, like, again, his mama ain't know that. My mama ain't know that. I
Yeah,
didn't even know that was a thing until like
right.
COVID. You know what I'm saying? Like, I didn't know that. But like, there are, I guess, at the end of the day, I guess what I want to let all black people know is that opportunity abounds. It's all around us. And sometimes we can get in our own way
Yeah,
because, and I'm going to say this as an HBCU graduate, okay? Sometimes I think HBCUs spend a lot of time trying to be the black version of white schools. And that is same for Black people. We spend a lot of time just trying to fit in and
Mm,
assimilate and like put our head down and do the work, and they will still shoot you, right?
yeah.
They will still deny you that job. They will still, oh, what's your name? Shaniqua? Nope.
Yep.
Right? Like they still going, right? Like, so I really want us to spend a lot more time building the spaces that we want to see versus hoping that someone will make room for us in a thing that they created for them. Does that make sense?
Man, that makes a lot of sense, man. I had Preach Jacobs on here, and
Preach.
we talked about kind of the same thing. And if we had took the dollars out of there and just put it into our businesses and stuff, and not trying to be a part of their businesses, just imagine how things would look now.
I'm reading this book now. I think it's called Lies About Black People. And it talks about how lies allow these stereotypes and these forms of oppressions to exist, right? The lie that we are not smart enough is why we need it separate but equal. You can't go to school with us. You're not smart enough. You need your own school. That's a lie.
Yeah.
The lie that we can't swim. You banned us from your pools, right? Like, it's not that we can't swim. You told us we can't go. You drained the pool if a Black person dare touched it. So, no, we don't swim. You told us we couldn't go to the beach. It's not that Black people don't like going to the beach. You told us you can't go. You arrested us if we went. And so we stayed home, right? Like, these are a bunch of lies that have now become truths.
Yeah.
And I think, let me rephrase that. It's not what I think. What I am doing or attempting to do with Black Food Fridays is not disprove anyone's myths about us, but bring light to the truths about us, right? Spend most of my energy talking about what we can do and what we have done and where we can go versus spending a majority of my energy being like, you don't know white people lying. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, the sky is blue, bruh. Of course, right? Yeah, like that's not new. So what are we going to do? And I think that's why my community active or community organizing and my online work go hand in hand.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because when I'm in Chicora and I'm at the Chicora Neighborhood Association meeting or the Union Heights Neighbors, we're not focused on what these white people doing. They focused on who's going to help us do what we need to do for our community.
Yeah.
And that singular focus, I think, would serve us all well in whatever fields that we want to be, right? Like, oppression is real, systematic oppression is real, racism is real, caste is real, right? But what is also real is that they couldn't hold us down even if they wanted to, right? Like they
Yeah.
tried to drown us. Literally, there are communities around America that are drowned Black communities.
Yep.
They blew up our communities. So, like, even when we did do our own thing, they just couldn't leave well enough alone. We was in Tulsa living our best
Yeah. Yeah.
lives. You know what I'm saying? Durham had Black Wall Street. You know what I'm
Yes.
saying? Like Mullen, South Carolina. Like,
Yes.
come on, bro. Like, even when we do our own thing, y'all keep bothering
Yeah.
us.
Yeah. Well,
So, what y'all want us to do? I don't know. Like that's listen. That'll be. We
yeah.
might have to do this
We
again.
have
We
to
might
do a
have to
part
talk
two.
again, brother. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm about to go on a roll. Now we're
Yeah.
about to finish. This has been great. Thank you for coming to the.
Real quick, what's the one thing about you that you that maybe a lot of people don't know that you wish more people knew?
I'm an introvert.
Hmm.
My mother will tell you I'm an introvert because I don't think people know words matter, and I don't think people know the definitions of things. I'm good at public speaking. I am I am the LeBron James, the Asia Wilson of small talk. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I can do a lot of things, but I don't derive my energy from being around a lot of people. I can be around people and then I am ready to go. And I'll
Yeah.
go in
Yeah.
a hole for 2 months, right? I mean, I just did it online,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
If I needed the energy of the people, there's no way I could have taken a month and a half off, right? But I don't need y'all in that way. Like I don't need y'all. Like I thrive off these one-on-one conversations, small groups, right? by myself. I love that. I can do the other stuff, and I can do the other stuff well. But that's not my preferred method. I'd rather just go to the park with one homie or two homies, or go to somebody's house, or go to a bar with one friend, right? Or go to a
Yeah.
restaurant with one friend. I don't need an entourage of people around me to derive either energy or self-worth. I don't need that. So that's the one thing I would like to share. I am an introvert.
Before I let you get out of here, man, let the people know how they can connect with you, how they can subscribe to your newsletter, anything you have coming up. Just let the
Mm-hmm.
people know.
Let's go real quick. So obviously, who made the potato salad.substack.com. There's a free version that you can subscribe to. In fact, majority of the people are subscribed to the free version. There's a paid version, which I just figured out what to do with the paid version. So if you're one of my paid subscribers, 2025 is going to be a good year for you. Obviously, follow me at Black Food Fridays on Instagram. I would say that the most important thing coming up right now that I can share, because some contracts haven't been signed yet, is the Bite the Power dinner at Charleston Wine and Food Festival. So if you go to the Charleston Wine and Food website, there's over 100 events. They do it every year, the first week of March. My dinner is called Bite the Power. I have 5 Black chefs that are going to be whipping up different courses. I have 3 Black speakers who use food as a way to build community. So they'll be speaking about that. And tickets are $250 per person. We only have 100 seats. We've already sold 70, which is amazing.
Man,
And
yeah.
so by the time March gets here, I'm sure they'll all be gone because your listeners are going to buy up about 10 of them. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And, we going to be out here. So those are the things most pressing things I'd love for you to know.
Okay, well, I appreciate you for coming on. I appreciate you for taking the time out, man. And like you said, we're gonna have to do a part 2 because this
Mm-hmm.
was, yeah, man. Thank you again. Everybody make sure you follow KJ on his journey. And remember, keep pushing forward. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Brown Sugar Cafe podcast. Once again, I'm your host, Terrence P. Elmore, and this is the place where poetry meets conversation. Hit that follow button and turn on your notifications so you won't miss an episode. Check out my blog, thebrownsugarcafe.blog. Also connect with me on Instagram at thebrownsugarcafe. Hope you enjoyed this episode, and as always, remember, keep pushing forward.